Hello students. Today we are learn about the topic classification of maps. You know that there are different types of maps which is familiar to you. Let's see the images of different types of maps.
A map is a two-dimensional representation, usually on a flat surface, of an entire area or a part of an area on the earth. Maps enable us to show the physical features such as mountains, plains, coastal regions, roads, population, climates, natural resources, and many more details about a geographical region. It uses colors, symbols, and labels to represent features found on the ground. Maps are of different kinds, but today we will learn about political, physical, and thematic maps only. So, let us first start with political maps. Political maps show the territorial boundaries of countries, states, and the location of major cities. Some of the maps cover the territorial boundaries of entire continents, while some maps are of a particular regions and others are of much smaller areas, such as a state or a country. Different colors are often used to help the user differentiate between the boundaries of two countries, states, and cities. In short, political maps show the boundaries and places made by people and governments like countries, states, capital, cities, and other important places. Let us now learn about physical maps. Physical maps show the physical or the geographical features of places by means of colors. Physical maps represent mountains, deserts, rivers, lakes, and other water bodies and other landforms in a region. Physical maps, however, do not usually depict territorial boundaries as shown on the political maps. Next, we have thematic maps. A thematic map is a type of map which gives information on a particular theme related to a specific geographical area. It focuses on a particular theme or topic such as crops, climate, population, land routes, etc. In short, these maps are used to get specific information about a particular location. To read a map correctly, we should know about the directions, scales, and some standard signs and symbols that are shown on maps. Let us first start with the directions. To read a map correctly, it is necessary to have an understanding of directions. The four directions that are universally accepted are east, west, north, and south. In the given image, the arrow pointing to the right indicates the east and the arrow pointing to the left indicates the west. Similarly, the arrow pointing towards the top indicates north and the arrow pointing towards the bottom indicates the south. Along with these four main directions, there are also four main subdirections. They are northeast, northwest, southeast, and southwest. These subdirections lie between two major directions. For example, southeast lies between south and east. Northwest lies between north and west, and so on. Now, let us study about signs, symbols, and colors. Maps often use symbols or colors to represent things. Every map has a key or an information box called as legend. that explains what the symbols or colors mean. These map keys are boxes placed in the corner of a map, and the information they provide is essential to understand a map. Symbols may be pictures or icons that represent different things that are present in the real world. Sometimes the maps might be colored or shaded, and the keys explain what the colors and shades mean. Different colors can be used to show different features on a map. For example, brown shows high mountains that are lower than the highest mountains. Yellow shows high land like plateaus. Dark green is used to represent lowland, land that is almost at the same level as the sea. Light blue shows the part of the sea.
These different types of maps are classified into two. The classification is based on function and classification based on scale. In the classification of based on function, the maps are classified into two. They are cultural maps and physical maps. The maps classified based on the scale have a two classification, that is small scale maps and large scale maps. Classification of maps. We know that the maps are classified into two on the basis of scale and on the basis of functions. On the basis of scale, there is large scale maps and small scale map. The example for large scale map is cadastral map, topographical maps, and small scale map example are wall maps and atlas maps. On the basis of functions, there is physical map and cultural maps. The examples for physical map is relief maps, geological maps, climate maps, and soil maps. For the cultural maps, there is political maps, population maps, economic. Hello students, today we are going to learn about the topic precipitation. Precipitation is a continuous condensation causing the droplets in the clouds to grow the size, being unable to resist the gravitational force of the earth. The water droplets get released from the clouds and fall on the earth in different forms. Let's discuss different forms of precipitation elements.
We all enjoy rain, but have you ever wondered how this water falls on the earth and in what form? Any form of water that falls to the earth's surface from clouds is called precipitation. It occurs in different forms. The type of precipitation depends on both the conditions inside the clouds and the conditions of the air between the clouds and the ground. Precipitation normally occurs in four forms: rain, sleet, snow, and hail. These forms of precipitation not fall in each and every part of the world. Let's find out which forms are common in the area where you live. So the first one is rain. Drops of liquid water are rain. This is the most common form of precipitation. Rain can form when tiny cloud droplets combine. Cloud droplets can be millions of times smaller than the raindrops. So, a great number of these droplets must combine to form a raindrop, which is large enough and heavy enough to fall to the ground. If the droplets fall through the air that is warmer than the water's freezing point, they reach the ground as rain. Rain can also begin as ice crystal. The crystals melt as they fall through the warm air, producing raindrops. Second form is called sleet. It consists of clear and translucent particles of ice. Sleet started in the form of ice crystals from the clouds. If the temperature between the clouds and the ground is warm enough, these ice crystals melt partially or totally and become more like raindrops. These raindrops, when reach the colder layer of the air near the surface, refreeze again. It falls to the surface in the form of raindrop size ice pellets called sleet. Third form is called snow. Small flakes and pellets of ice make up snow. Snowflakes are produced when the temperature in the cloud is cold enough for water vapors to form ice crystals. The type of snow that falls depend on the temperature of the clouds. Light, fluffy snowflakes form when the temperature is very low. Warmer temperatures produce heavy, wet snowflakes. Snowflakes can form in different shapes. Third form is called hail. Hail is made up of round chunks of ice called hailstones. Hailstones form when drops of rain freezes inside a cloud with strong updraft winds. If the winds are strong enough, they lift the hailstone through the inside of the cloud. A hailstone may rise and fall many times, each time gaining a new icy coat. Finally, when the hailstone is too heavy for the wind to lift, it falls to the ground. The largest documented hailstone weighed more than 1.5 pounds. The total precipitation in a particular place depends on some weather condition too, like temperature, pressure, wind, humidity and other factors.
Forms of condensation. Atmosphere should reach the saturation level for condensation to begin. With further addition of water vapor or dew to the considerable fall in our temperature, the water vapor in the atmosphere begins to condense. Let's see different types of condensation.
Ellen, there's moisture on the outside of my glass.
It's condensation, Johnny.
But what about the fog on the windows?
It's not fog, Johnny. It too is called condensation.
Condensation.
So what happens to water vapor in the air as the air cools? Well, if you remember, the warmer the air, the more water it can hold. So as it cools, that water vapor is going to condense and turn from gas to liquid. The temperature that is needed in order to turn this water from gas to liquid is called the dew point. The more water in the air, the less it has to cool, since it will reach its dew point quicker. Another important thing needed in order for condensation to occur in the air and for dew point is called condensation nuclei, which is the term for tiny particles in the air for water to condense onto. These particles can come from different dust, salt, different elements, as well as burning particles in the air. Let's take a look at an example. Air temperature is going to be above 0 degrees Celsius. The water vapor forms dew. If the air temperature is below 0 degrees, the water vapor becomes frost. These droplets of water in the air around the condensation nuclei are so tiny that they will fall slowly, and the slightest air movement will keep them suspended. When this happens, it creates fog. That's all we need to know for today. Next, we're going to discuss how water in the air causes cloud formation and rain. Make sure to answer the questions in the form and hit submit. If you
Water in the atmosphere. Humidity varies not only with the place but also with time. The actual amount of water present in the atmosphere is called absolute humidity. It is measured as the amount of water vapor present per cubic meter volume of the air.
Let's talk about water. Water comes in 3 states. No, not those states. Solid, liquid, and gas. Water appears as solid when the temperature is 0 degrees or below, and it will appear in nature as ice, snow, or hail. Water will appear as liquid when the temperature is between 0 degrees Celsius and 100 degrees Celsius, and will appear in nature as rain or cloud droplets. And finally, water will appear as gas when the temperature is 100 degrees Celsius and above, and will appear as water vapor. Now, when water changes from one form to another, it's called condensation. When water changes from gas to liquid to solid. When water vapor condenses to liquid and then to ice. Because of this, it's going to lose its heat to get colder, and that heat is going to stay in the air around it. The opposite is called evaporation, when liquid turns to gas, or ice will melt and turn to liquid. This is when it gains heat, cooling the air around it. But how much water is there in the air at any given moment? Well, the answer to that question is called humidity. The warmer the air is, the more water it can contain. As the air will cool, we will discuss what happens to that water. But first, let's talk about humidity. Specific humidity is an amount of water vapor in the air. For example, in this cup, I will tell you that there are 4 ounces of water. The same would be true for the air. I will tell you a specific amount of water in the